yesterday we began to look at the scriptures, specifically Luke 23 and 33, when it says, "And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, they crucified him being Jesus, and the malefactors or the evildoers, one on the right hand and the other on the left." Now, we said that within this allegory were symbols, and the symbols are uh, they are revealed through the language, and specifically the word Calvary. Calvary means is the Greek word cranion, which means skull. All right, this is just talking
Mm-hmm.
about the physical structure, first and foremost, of the brain. Calvary being the skull, Jesus being crucified in the middle, which is the middle portion of the brain that lies between the two malefactors or evildoers called the right and left hemispheres of the brain. Well, why are they evildoers? Because, Nasik, when they're separated in duality, you're going to be either right brain or left brain.
There you go.
So this is all talking about achieving holism, achieving oneness in the body. And we have to understand biology, human biology, and human neuroanatomy, the way that our nervous system is set up, or our electronical circuits, Malkiel, are set up
Mm-hmm.
in the brain and throughout the body. So when we looked at the film, the brother talked about the 12 cranial nerves. And that's what set me off, Nasi. That's what set me off, family.
Yeah.
Talked about the cranium, and I always go to sleep after I teach, and I know that there's something more that I need to know myself, I need to see myself, and I need to share with you all. So when I again, I go in myself and I say, well, show me what it is that I need to teach for the next day. And I woke up this morning and I had saw that video yesterday and began looking at it, but I didn't look at it thoroughly. But I looked at it up to that point, Nasi, this morning, where he talked about the 12 cranial nerves. I was like, that's it. And I stopped and I began preparing the class. And I didn't look up, family, until
Yeah.
10:25. And I had come back yesterday and added some things on there for your notes to complete. But I'm going to start, I'm not even going to start at the 12 cranial nerves here, because there's something more important that leads to this. And we're going to go back to where we began this thing, this particular teaching. And we're going to look at again, family, this inversion process, this term inversion that Nasik a short while ago brought, just in a comment, brought to our attention, this term inversion. So we titled this Addressing the Prophetic Inversion Process Resulting from the Fall. And, everything was inverted. What was low was exalted, what was high was abased. What was high was brought low, what was low was brought high. And we looked at this from the standpoint of the ego, all right? Because we looked at Ezekiel 21:25 through 33. And the first
Right.
The first few verses was talking about the ego and the superego, that in the process of the fall, in the process of the descent, that the ego and the superego was exalted at some point. And the energetic principle of the id, or the subconscious, that divine aspect of us, of melaninated people, was what? Abased, brought low. And everything that was concerned with uh, the aspects and the abilities of the divine energetic principle, or ability that is in us, was abased, was demonized, was called Satan, the devil, and Antichrist. And the techniques, Nasi, that would raise those and activate those things, that was called witchcraft, black magic,
Right.
Satanism, demonology. And so that was in the lexicon of language. And they redefine, and those things, I shouldn't say they, those things were redefined. And they were redefined by our ancestors, because we had to complete this decomposition completely. And we couldn't touch those things that would forestall this, that would halt it. We had to descend all the way down in order to complete this alchemical process. And then we would descend again. But there would have to be what? A process of inversion. Once again, a process of reversal. Those things that had been exalted and made high would have to be what? Abased, brought low. And those things that had been low would have to be exalted again and brought high. The law of reversal. This is the key to accessing the essence of divine power at this point. But you cannot be caught in that moralistic trap. You have to ascend moralism. You have to ascend moralism. So this is where we began yesterday. The divine law of inversion or reversal. And we're going to talk about this as Aleister Crowley attempted to uh, articulate this. But understand, they were only custodians, family. They were only custodians of this divine knowledge. There's no way they could interpret it. And there's no way, Nasi, that they could manifest, that they could activate these things. If so,
No, right.
they would have done it. Shoot, they've had over 400 years in this country,
Yes, sir.
and Amaria, they still using force. They ain't using no power, because
Mm-hmm.
they still
Mm-hmm.
force. Still not seek on a lower level. Still using guns and bombs
Yes.
and physical force, force coercion. I'm sorry, force coercion and intimidation. First method: let the exempt adept first train himself to think backwards by external means, as set forth here following. We have to begin to we in the West, we were trained to be what? Left right dominant, in terms of the or by way of the um, um, educational system. We were taught to read left from right. That was no mistake. That was to train us to be uh, left brain dominant, left brain dominant. And the whole curriculum was based on what? Calculation, mathematics, reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Right. Right.
To use the left side of the brain and not the right. And to kill that right brain. You can't be creative. You can't be. I used to get in trouble all the time for, I'm an artist. And, I would doodle what they, draw. But my drawings would be Nasik, in accordance with the lesson. It would help me remember. And the teacher would always come by and ball up the sheet of paper, ask me what I was doing. But that was the ancestors' way of keeping my right brain, what? Engaged. And they would say, do that in art class. Do that in art, compartmentalizing all of this, separating it, dividing it. But these things were tended to work together. I was attempting to be ambidextrous in my learning.
Yeah.
It was right, left, dominant in the compulsory education system. They do it in the religious systems, in the spiritual systems. It's the same thing, Nasi. It's all part of this. I don't care what you
Same thing. Yeah.
I don't care what you call yourself. I don't care if you call it the process of dedication as opposed to the process of education. It's basically the same thing.
Right. Right. Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
Basically the same thing. So the first method, let the exempt adept first train himself to think backwards by external means as set forth here following. Now, see, when I played basketball and when I boxed, I remember my father wanted to make my left hand just as good as my right hand. So he just taught me in an orthodox method. He tied my right hand in the back, or behind my back, and all I
Same thing with me.
and
Same thing with me.
absolutely
That's why I guess we on the same wavelength. When I played ball, I never went to my right hand
yeah,
because I could always do that. So I practiced making myself go left. I became actually better going left and doing everything better left than right.
absolutely.
That was the objective.
And I would jab and hook over and over again, until it became I was doing it in my sleep, family. I was doing it in my sleep. And the same way with basketball. Same way with basketball. I had to train because I mean from the earliest stages on. Yeah, y'all understand this, that our grandmothers and sometimes our mothers, when they would see us playing with toys with our left hand, what would they do? Take it out of our left hand and put it in our right hand.
Yes, yes.
And even the left hand became sinister with evil. I mean, synonymous with evil, because sinister means left-handed.
Yeah.
And when someone was left-handed, they would say, "Look, he's a shepherd for the devil." Y'all heard all that ignorant stuff.
Okay.
And the left-handed path is the path of Satan. So the law of inversion and reversal. So this is, you know, I'm just showing you that these individuals were, they were custodians of this knowledge, and then they began to try to interpret it. And what appears to be to them as high knowledge is just simplistic to us. Because Nasik and I said it wasn't even related to anything spiritual like that. We knew that we had to have use of both of our hands and thus both sides of our brain.
Right. Right.
That was a child can figure that out. And my younger brother, we played baseball. Now he could switch hit, and he could hit with
That's me, Ty.
right. He could hit with power
Mm-hmm.
and for percentage about the same, left-handed or right-handed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the same with me.
Yes, same with me. Absolutely.
And I see,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got back to play. Now my brother played little league. I didn't play none of that, but I was just as good a baseball player, but it just wasn't my interest. My younger brother golfs as well, but it's not my interest. I don't like, but I love baseball to watch it and even to play softball. But in high school, my number one thing was, boxing and playing basketball, right? And I didn't really even box that long, uh, formally in the ring like that. But I was boxing in school and behind buildings and in the street and in clubs and stuff like that. You understand what I'm saying? That was my thing. But I played softball and stuff, and I was always an outstanding softball player. And I even played recently, in the university there, a few years back. And I remember I injured my left hand and I couldn't put the glove on my left hand because I throw right-handed, but I can throw left-handed too. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing the field and they was amazed. I was like, give me a right-hand glove. And I'm fielding
Mm-hmm.
with, left-handed. And the cats was amazed. I was like, well, I mean, you're not even-handed? And I'm fielding and making plays just as well and throwing with my left hand. Why? Because I trained myself to do it. These
There
Mm-hmm.
you go.
And so now here they writing a book. They writing a book, and the first thing that they say, let him learn to write backwards with either hand. Well, that's if you've trained your brain to do it, it's a simple task.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Go ahead.
you're connecting a lot of dots for me.
Yes.
You know, growing up in the nation, I always created my own toys.
You always
You
create.
know,
What? Say again, brother.
I I always created my own toys to play with.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I broke my left hand playing basketball, and when the cast came off, my left hand was always strong and dominant playing basketball.
Absolutely.
Today I create, that's my hobby to make chessboards and do other type of woodwork, whatever somebody wants, I create it for them.
Very good. Now we're gonna talk about this creation. We're gonna eventually get to that, and very quickly we're gonna get to that. This creation, and we're gonna understand exactly where creation takes place. We somewhere else, family. We're somewhere else on
Yes.
this.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
I put this down as an example and a starting place, and so this is what they put down. This is supposed to be their highest level of articulating this stuff. Let him learn to write back with either hand. We've been doing that. We've been doing
Yes.
that. So F, I'll read E and F, and it says, no, I'm going to read D down here where the star is. It says, let him practice speaking backwards. Thus, for quote, I am he, let him say, E my I, to reverse everything. Now we saw this, an example for us. Who is the only one of the first black uh, billionaires? One of the
Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah Winfrey, and she did this reversal because she knows this power. She did this reversal in creating Harpo Studios.
Right. Yes. With her
And
name.
and the guy, the one of her main characters in The Color Purple, his name, her opposite in that ritual, his name was Harpo, right?
Harpo. Yes. Yes.
See, they know these rituals. They know
Mm-hmm.
these rituals with language reversal. And Oprah, no matter what you say about her, she's received a portion
Yes.
of her lot in life, at least in terms of the financial aspect. And this is all that they work. This is all that they work because that is part of the simulated reality. But it's only a small part of it. So she did this reversal. A lot of people, you'll see a lot of people do this mirroring that are successful, and this reversal, it's hidden, but you can see it once you know. Let him learn to read backwards. In this, it is difficult to avoid cheating oneself. And this is what we're doing with the sigils. All right? We're trying to hide the language and to bypass the ego. That's all they're talking about here. And to bypass the ego so that so that your ego can't look in and cheat and then flip you back to left brain dominance. We want to enter into that magical realm. And the
Yes.
highest form
Yes.
of magic is achieved by reversal, by inversion. Let him learn to read backwards. In this, it is difficult to avoid cheating oneself, as an expert reader sees a sentence at a glance. Let his disciple read aloud to him backwards, slowly at first, then more quickly. So they're just training the mind. They're just training the physical. And then F said, of his own ingenium, let him devise other methods. In other words, come up with your own ways to fool and to trick the ego, to fool and to trick and to bamboozle conscious awareness so that you exclude it, so that you exempt it. That's why it's called the exempt adept. They were trying to exempt the ego, right? And to access the divine. They never did it. They never did it, now see, and they never will do it.
Right.
They never will do it.
Right.
So this inversion means to put things in a reverse position, order, form, or relationship. To put upside down in the opposite position, order or arrangement. And you remember in Isaiah 5 and 20,
That's it.
woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. Well, why woe? Because it's the same thing. We were in the descent. Don't use the process of reversal in the descent. But in the ascent, it becomes what? Acceptable.
Yes.
Are you all seeing that? But if you still have this
Yes.
moralistic view and are dominated and ruled by moralism, you're still a human and you're not going to ascend no way.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll argue the fact and you'll ask, well, why is it in the Bible? Why it says not to do it? It says woe to them. Well, you don't have your perception has not, and consciousness level has not made the transition from human to divine. So you still worried about that little stuff. But if you can see the big picture now, see of the descension and why it was necessary to outlaw these things, why it was necessary to put the flaming sword to prevent you coming back into the garden and figuring these things out during the descension. I mean, you'll never understand. You'll never touch these things, and because you'll be debating good and evil,
Never.
right and wrong. That put light for darkness. That put darkness for light and light for darkness. That put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. This is the inversion. This is our power to produce and manifest the divine. So we're going to begin here. Everybody all right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
sir.
All
Okay.
right. So we're going to start here and take a look at it from this standpoint. This is just an expansion on what we just reviewed from yesterday and what we talked about and covered on yesterday. But this is the expansion on this. And this is going to open up the cosmos for us and divine and define the universe for us. We're going to know exactly where it exists. The divine law of inversion or reversal. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put light for darkness, darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Here we are. We're going to go to power versus force. And we're going to talk about levels 250 and level 350. Level 250 and level 350. Level 250.
Level 250 and 350.
Right. So if you got your books, you can follow that along in the chapter that talks about the consciousness levels, that lists the consciousness level. And we're going to extract a portion from level 250, which is called neutrality. See, neutrality is basically where you don't see good and evil. You don't see black and white. You don't see darkness and light. You don't see bitter and sweet as being separate. You take a neutral position and you see them as one. You see them as merely two extremes of the same thing, different degrees of the same thing. Are you all with me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Level 250 neutrality. Energy becomes very positive as we get into the level that we have termed neutral. Because listen, it is epitomized by release from positionality. From the positionality. Positionality is good and evil. Positionality is light and darkness. Positionality is bitter and sweet. That typifies the lower levels. Below 250, consciousness tends to see dichotomies and take on rigid positions.
Yes.
Tends to see dichotomies and take on rigid positions. An impediment in a world that is complex and multifactorial. Now, see, everything is entangled.
Yes, yes.
Everything is entangled rather than black and white. So that type of that type of mindset, or that type of mentality, that type of perception and thought pattern is an impediment. It's an impediment.
Yes.
Seeing things in black and white. Taking such positions creates polarization, and polarization in turn creates opposition and division. As in the martial arts,
Yes, it does.
As in the martial arts, a rigid position becomes a point of vulnerability. That is why Bruce Lee, a master, said, "Be like water, my friend. Be like water.
Yes. Absolutely. So,
Don't
yes.
be rigid. Just flow. Flow
Mm-hmm.
wherever it takes you. Flow.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no good and evil. Ain't no bitter and sweet. Ain't no black and white. Just flow.
That's right.
Any other position, Nasi, is rigid and it's a point of weakness and vulnerability.
Absolutely.
That which does not bend is liable to break, rising above barriers or oppositions that dissipates one's energy. And our energy, we know, that has been dissipated.
Yes, yes.
The neutral condition allows for flexibility and non-judgmental, realistic appraisal of problems. To be neutral means to be relatively unattached to outcomes. That's going to be the most
Yes.
powerful aspect
Yes.
of the creative process.
Yes.
Man, do your sigils. This is the beginning process.
Mm-hmm.
Do those sigils. Do your rituals. Do your meditations, and don't worry about how it's going to happen. Burn it up.
Right.
Burn it up after that if you have to.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
become unattached to it and just know that whatever you said was going to be is going to be.
Yes.
I don't care how it happens. It's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Become
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna happen. Can't.
if Nazar, if you ask for $500 million, don't worry about that you was walking down the street and some dope dealers was having a car battle and they crashed and nobody else observed. They had a bag full of money in the car and it shot out the car and almost hit you and landed on your feet. Don't worry about how it's going to come.
Right.
That's right.
Right. So,
Can't.
you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
Look up and see if there are any surveillance cameras out there. Look to the left and look to the right and drag that big old money bag with you.
Can't.
You can't be worried about well maybe the right thing to do is to turn this into the police.
Right. That's moral again.
Hey, you better become unattached. You better become unattached to outcomes.
Yeah.
Can't.
Just giving a simplistic example.
Right.
Be moralistic
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Or Malkia, if somebody made a mistake, some type of error that's that can't be corrected, and all of
Right.
a sudden you go to you go to check your account balance, and there's $1 billion in there, exactly what you asked for.
Right. Right. Right.
Oh well, let me do the right thing.
Right.
You better understand that your prayers have been answered, or whatever
Yes.
it is. You
Yes.
don't worry
Absolutely.
about how it's gonna come.
Right.
Because that morality is going to do what? It's going to be an impediment to you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get exactly what you asked for. And I might have used, some poor examples, but I thought they was pretty good. But
All right.
it's going to be an impediment.
Right.
Because you've been then manifested what you want, and you worrying about how it came. Because now, see, you a good person, and a good person will
Right.
do this or that.
Hey, listen, don't tell me about no good person. I know about being good. When they say you're a good person, I guarantee you're going to always get the share.
That's absolutely. Absolutely.
That's absolutely.
That's absolutely correct. No good deed goes unpunished. Believe that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why they say certain things like that. Energy level 250 acceptance. At this level of awareness, a major transformation takes place. A major transformation. Now, see, with the understanding that one is oneself, listen, that one is oneself, the source and creator of the experience of one's life. You are the
Mm-hmm.
creator.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Aman. Aman was called the Aman horn, or the Amun horn was called what? The hidden creator. Was it not?
Mm-hmm.
You're the creator. You're the source. You're the source. I'm going to provide confirmation of this over and over again from our ancient ancestors as we go forward, family. Bear with me. That you are the sole source and creator of your experience. You are creator, Nasik, of your universe. We are
Yeah,
Yes.
all
Yes.
universes. We are all
Yes.
universes, family, but we're all entangled and existing at the same time. Taking such responsibility is distinctive of this degree of evolution, characterized by the capacity to live harmoniously with the forces of life. All energies,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how they're manifested. All people at levels below 200 tend to be powerless and see themselves as victims at the mercy of life. This stems from a belief that the source of one's happiness. Now remember, we talked about happiness. If you're happy, rather, you're gonna be good.
Right.
You're unhappy,
Right.
ain't no way you're gonna be good, because you're gonna always be in pursuit of happiness. When you're holistic, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
You have everything. You're whole. Shalom has been achieved. This stems from the belief that the source of one's happiness or cause to one's problem is out there. Now, see, external, an
yeah,
enormous jump, taking back one's own power or activating one's own power is completed at this level, with the realization that the source of one's happiness is within oneself. At this more evolved stage, nothing so-called out there has the capacity to make one happy. And love is not something that is given or taken away by another, but is created from within. Are y'all with me?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is
yeah,
created from within.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to continue this, and it talks about seeing the whole picture. Well, when we look at the ancestors gave us the ability to see the whole picture. Now, see, when they introduced this truth that we weren't created, that we emanated.
right.
Right.
So from the perspective or the vantage point of emanation, you see yourself as divine. That's all you need to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are the creator
Mm-hmm.
of your own incarnation, Malkiel, and you are in
Mm-hmm.
control of everything that you experience within the physical.
Yes.
The individual at the level of acceptance, that is 350, is not interested in determining right or wrong. So, family, if you can see and relate to what it is that we have been talking about and presenting and putting on view before you, then you have reached this level that you already know that you are at level 350. That you are
Mm-hmm.
at level 350. We're ascending now, see?
Absolutely.
We're
Absolutely.
because we wouldn't have been given this stuff. We can't take this thing
Yes.
and put it on social media. We can't do
Can
that.
sure.
Oh, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
We've reached this level. This is for us. This is for us and those like us.
Yes,
Yes.
Like
it is.
this brother,
Yes.
brother,
Yes.
who this brother was talking to in the barber shop here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't in no, you know, he ain't in front of no people with no microphone. Now see,
Right. Right.
Right.
he got a very select group, and they probably probably the shop where he gets his hair cut. They probably there on the stand,
Uh-huh.
Right.
Uh-huh.
or one of the days that the shop ain't open,
Yes.
and he just standing up with a select group that he can talk to. This ain't for everybody.
Right.
This is for people on a certain level of consciousness. And if you're on this call and you have that inner witness within you that what we are
Mm-hmm.
saying is the truth and you can relate
Absolutely.
to it. Now see, you gotta be up there, 350, hovering
Got to.
King, King.
Mm-hmm.
250 and 350. You gotta
Right.
you gotta have advanced to
Yes.
that level. So we can take confidence in that. We can take extreme confidence in that. Now, we had talked about this idea that the crucifixion and the resurrection takes place where? At Golgotha, at Calvary, in the skull, in the cranium, in the head. That's why the
Yes,
scripture,
it does.
that's why the scripture says, likewise reckon ye also yourselves to be dead. Well, where are you reckoning at? You're reckoning in mentally. Mentally, you're saying that that you're dead. Now, I'm going to say something to you that the entire narrative of the scriptures. Now, see, as we have gotten it, 66 books of the Bible, as we have gotten it,
Right.
the King James version, all of that takes place in your head.
In your head.
All of it.
Right. Yes.
All of it. The fall, the descension, the ascension, the resurrection, the death, the burial, all of that allegorical narrative takes place in your head.
That's
Even,
right.
even the creation, even the creation, you did that. And I'm going to prove it to you. Now, see, this is a huge step. This is
Yeah, I was already there because I got a paper that I did on the whole document. I'm listening to you. I got a whole paper I did on it, And of course, naturally, I introduced it to who I thought in the
Yeah,
kingdom was there. Paid no attention to it.
right.
Don't discuss it. Have no, because I understand.
Right.
You understand now, see?
Yeah,
See, but now see, I know who you are. I already know.
yeah.
Already.
It took you long enough.
No, no, it didn't.
What was that class saying?
I said it took you long enough.
So, family, we're gonna deal with this aspect of the skull and the brain and the different organs that connect to the different systems in the brain. But we want to understand this is not going to be so much of a biology lesson, that it's going to be an energy study of the energy of these things and the what we used to call, Nasi, the spirit of the thing. All right.
Right.
So we've already uh, shown this correspondence uh, between the Bible narrative, that it was talking in encoded language, that it was talking about just the physical manifestation or the physical systems that are connected to energetic systems throughout the human body. All right, and not really throughout the human body. These energetic systems are located in the non-physical realm, but they correspond to the things in the physical. Invisible and visible are the same. The invisible
Yeah.
manifests the visible. The non-physical manifests the physical. So we're talking about the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. That's where I stopped the when this brother was teaching. When he said that, I was like, that's it. 12 pairs of cranial nerves, family, correspond with the 12 strands of DNA. The 12 strands of DNA. The two that appear that can be seen, and then the 10 pairs that cannot be seen, that have their origin in the non-physical or the invisible world. Are you all with me?
Mm-hmm.
So I saw this article, 12 pairs of cranial nerves, what they are and what their function is, by an individual called Alejandra Salazar. What are the 12 pair of cranial nerves? Well, you see them. The olfactory, which correspond to the sense of smell, optic, that correspond to the sight, but we're not going to spend that much time on this. But we just know that that these nerves are just what? Circuits, energy circuits, Malkiel, that
Mm-hmm.
connect to the physical sense organs, that
Mm-hmm.
that allow us to move and operate within what? The simulated physical material matrix of reality. But Yeshua said the people have what? Eyes. Well, Isaiah said it first, but they have eyes, but they can't see.
Right.
Right.
So we're not so concerned with the physical eyes. We're concerned with the aspect of seeing into the non-material world. We want to activate and focus on, therefore, our divine senses. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So the 12 pairs of cranial nerves enable us to perform our daily routine in a comfortable and efficient way. That's to operate, within the physical matrix, false matrix of reality. As they take part of the information of our senses to the brain, and the brain to some of our muscles and viscera. So we know that this is completely something that is part of the visible or physical or material world, but it does have a correspondence to the energetic. So I see. I asked. I asked God when I got this information. I asked God, meaning that I Googled.
Yeah, right.
I Googled. I Googled the skull and the vault of the heavens. I Googled that term, and
Uh-huh.
it came up and corresponded with this idea of the cosmic egg. This gonna knock y'all out. And you see the cosmic egg with what? The serpent wrapped around it.
Serpent. Mm-hmm.
All right? There's the serpent, the ever-present serpent. So we know that this has to do with creation.
Yes.
Now, watch this, family. The cosmic egg. Let's go back to the Jesus narrative. In John 19, and I'm reading from verse 12 to verse 18. This is an allegory, but this is going to show you all that everything is entangled, even Nasi, within the simulated matrix of reality. Duality is an illusion.
They just,
Duality
yeah,
is an illusion. And you all are going to see
it's an illusion.
clearly that this illusion has dominated your perception and your sight and your ability to see and think holistically, and that we have it has been an impediment to us. And then from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him, but the Jews cried out, saying, If thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Jesus forth, and he sat down in the judgment seat, in the place that is called the pavement. Now, write down the word seat, S-E-A-T, and you can even write down the word judgment seat, because these seats are going to be related to the 12 pairs of optic nerves. I mean, the 12 pair of cranial nerves. I'm sorry, the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. And it's also going to, Nasi, be related to the 12 strands of DNA. The 12 strands of DNA. He sat down at the judgment seat in the place that is called the pavement. Now that is the cranial vault. That is the arched cranial vault. In the Hebrew, Gabbatha. We'll go through that later. Now here's the important verse. And it was the preparation of Passover at about the 6th hour. And he saith unto the Jews, Behold your king. The Passover, all right? The Passover in the East is related to what in the West?
Easter.
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 And when we celebrate Easter, what do we decorate?
The egg.
Y'all see
The
it?
Easter egg.
Y'all
Mm-hmm.
see it? See,
Mm-hmm.
and in division, Nasi, in division, in duality, we were in opposition with all the. We could be Christians and say, well, we don't celebrate Easter like that. We don't decorate no eggs because
Right.
because
Right.
what? We're good Christians. we're good Christians. And then we could be Christian. Some Christians are going to celebrate the tradition and say, well, we recognize Jesus, but we also recognize the tradition. It's just a family tradition that we do. So we do Easter,
Yeah.
right? And then
Right.
then we think, then I see we think that we are graduating or elevating in consciousness and say, well, the whole story about Easter is related to the Hebraic Passover, Pesach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the Easter eggs are a pagan tradition, and no, we don't do that, and nobody should do it. And we look down upon people and have opposition, and with other groups and
Become rigid.
individuals and conflicts about them doing the egg.
Mm-hmm.
This is all one thing. It's all intertangled, and our ancestors
All in the
intertangled
same.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a reminder. It was a reminder in the West as it was in the East, and we weren't supposed to be in conflict with
Mm-hmm.
these things. We were supposed to do what? Syncretize them, and they had already
Yes.
Yeah.
done it, but we were blind to it. This is
Mm-hmm.
an
Right.
representation. The world egg,
Mm-hmm.
the cosmic egg, or the mundane egg, is a mythological motif found in the creation myths of many cultures and civilizations. Well, why? Because it's all the same thing.
Wow.
Right.
Right.
Typically, the world egg is becoming of some sort. Typically, the world egg is a beginning of some sort. But they left this out of the King James Version of the Bible, but it should have been there.
Mm.
And is the universe or some primordial being comes into existence by hatching from an egg. Now, if someone, we use this word hatching now. Now let's go to Google. Let's go to God.
Huh.
Let's go to God. And we're going to go to the etymology of the word hatch. And we're going to go to the verb, uh, well, let's go to the noun first. Hatch means an opening, a grated gate, half door, a fence. It's an enclosure.
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
a hatcher. The surname Hatcher means one who lives near a gate. It's the opening in
Mm-hmm.
a ship's deck, an opening in a ship's deck that takes you down to the lower levels of the ship, correct? The hull of the ship.
Right.
Hull
Mm-hmm.
Right.
related to the word hail. So when it says down the hatch, see, this is referring to the descent inwardly, inwardly, that which is unhatched, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Engraved lines or strokes. Now here's the verb. Early 13th century, to produce young from eggs by incubation. Is that creation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, it says of unknown origin, it means to mate, to join together two opposites, now see, and to
Wow.
produce something, meaning to come forth from an egg, cause to come forth from an egg. Figurative use of plots. They hatched a plot. That talks about thinking, a mental process
Mm-hmm.
to hatch
Mm-hmm.
something. So creation begins in the egg, and the egg
Mm-hmm.
is nothing but your skull, your head. All
Mm-hmm.
this is taking
Mm-hmm.
place in the egg, eggheads. Now, an egghead is someone that has brilliant mental capacity, is it not?
mm-hmm. Gang.
You call him an egghead. And the one that created the aberrant man was called an egghead.
Mm-hmm.
He was a scientist, and he had a big egghead.
Big head sign.
He was
Right.
the big egg.
Right.
Y'all got to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
We all created our universe, and we are all living in it, now see, individually as well as collectively
Yes.
at the same time, entangled. That's the only way we can communicate.
Mm-hmm.
When two or three are gathered together in my name, where is the divinity? Right there in the midst, in the
Mm-hmm.
middle, between connecting the things that are apparently what? Hemispherical,
Opposite.
divided, opposite.
Mm.
That is the divinity. This is something else, y'all. The world
Mm-hmm.
it's got to change. It's got to change for you all. Now listen. Now let's connect this now historically. Ostriches were prevalent in the ancient world, and pieces of ostrich shells can be found at middle and upper Paleolithic sites throughout the world. Ostrich shells were used as flasks in South Africa 8,500 years ago. So this idea of egg uh, family didn't just happen 2,000 years ago with the development of the modern understanding within the last 2,000 years, I should say, with this modern understanding and evolution of the Jesus Christ character into what they call paganism and Easter. It is a far more ancient
Far
aspect
more ancient. Right.
that relates to all beginnings. All beginnings. Watch this. Decorated ostrich eggs have been found in tombs and graves, especially those of rulers and children. They were teaching the children, now see,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
as well as the kings, those of rulers
Right.
and children. They appear to symbolize the hope of resurrection and immortality.
Yeah, they always situated, connected that resurrection with the egg and Easter.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you'll never get it.
Yeah.
You'll never get it with a dualistic mind. You'll never activate this power
No.
Right. Right.
thinking
Yes.
thinking one thing is good and the other is evil. You'll never
Mm-hmm.
do it. In church tradition, watch. Now write this down. In church tradition, the lion, write that down, the bull or the ox or the calf, write that down, the man, write it down if you're taking notes, and the eagle represent the 4 evangelists. That is the 4 cardinal points of the zodiac. Very important. The wild ostrich originated in Africa, where this creature produces 90% of its eggs, write this down, between January and March. When is Easter celebrated?
Yeah.
March.
Does the day change, or does it's celebrated on the same day every year? Easter Sunday. Easter.
The day change. The day changes.
In the church, the egg is both a symbol of new life, that is creation, and a symbol of Christ's resurrection, that is life from the dead. This is why eggs are decorated and distributed both at Pesach and Easter.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow.
The association,
Yes.
the association of new life and rebirth with the ostrich egg has been verified by archaeological finds. Painted or incised ostrich eggs have been found in El Badari and ancient Kush, Nubia.
Mm-hmm.
Don't talk to me about nothing pagan. This is our ancient.
Right.
In the Oriental Museum, that is museums in the East, from the East, there are examples of ostrich eggs which have been decorated over their entire surfaces. The largest concentration of ostrich eggs to be discovered in one place in pre-dynastic Egypt were found in the tomb of Heracleopolis, Nekhen, in Kush. Ostrich eggs have been found in burials of children. In Egypt, ostrich eggs were placed in the graves of the wealthy individuals that had received their lot. See, this is why we poor.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how to incorporate this magic.
Mm-hmm.
We either left-handed or right-handed. We're not even-handed
Yeah.
in our approach to anything. In Hakata, a decorated ostrich egg replaced the owner's missing head. What was they trying to tell us? But what I'm trying to say, that your head and the egg symbolize the egg is just a symbol of the head. And you know, in
Yeah.
Egypt, they showed the serpent what? Coming up the back of the Sphinx, right? That represented what? A man, a bull, a lion. Are y'all
Mm-hmm.
with me?
Mm-hmm. Can't show.
Where do we have it? And the eagle, right? A man, a bull, the
Mm-hmm.
lion, and the eagle. And the serpent was resting on his pineal gland. Are you all with me?
Okay.
Okay.
It was wrapped around the egg, the skull, the big egg head. It's talking about the fully illuminated man, the fully enlightened, the fully illuminated man.
Yeah.
So this is paradigm shifting, family. This is paradigm
Yes,
shifting.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But this all begins, now see, by this process of reversal, by this reaching. You can't see this, and you can't you can't even conceptualize of it unless you are on these levels of at least 250, where you
Yes.
achieve neutrality, that you refuse to see these dichotomies, and that you're beginning to what? Fuse them together, syncretize them, amalgamate them as one thing. And then you begin to see the whole picture. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's look at this. This the reason why that these individuals, the reason why they could not access this power and explain it and articulate it, Nasi, in these terms, is because they're not melanated.
Right.
They're not melanated. And I'm gonna prove that melanin is the key to all of this. Melanin is the key to all of this. Now we want to use an ancient term that referred to melanated people and that incorporate this idea of the serpent or the serpent of wisdom. See, we have that. And the evidence that we have that is that we have this serpent wisdom and serpent knowledge is not see that we can penetrate these areas and begin to interpret this according to wisdom, not according to man's wisdom, not according to superstition, not according to religion, not according to the various what religious systems, but according to holism, according to the energetic principle of holism, as opposed to duality. In Matthew 10 and 16, we are instructed to be therefore wise as serpents, but gentle as doves. Wise as serpents, yet gentle as doves. The Nagas of the ancient Vedic tradition, that is, the serpent, has been a symbol of wisdom, eternity, healing, mystery, magical or divine power, and holiness, Nasi, or wholeness, throughout most of the ancient non-Western world. Are y'all hearing me?
Mm-hmm.
Its symbol is used today in medicine and other healing professions. This connects to physical immortality and immortality, the healing professions, and its live descendants are held as sacred and used in everything from cancer drugs to sex potions. The serpent was venerated in ancient Babylon, Mexico, Egypt, as well as many places all over the world. That's what they refer to us as. Because before we were divine, now see, before we were more divine rather than we were physical and human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We were referred to as the Naga, or the Nega, or the nigga, like we
Or
refer
the
to
nick,
it right now.
or the nigga. Yes,
That is
absolutely.
not an
Mm-hmm.
insult. That is not an insult. That is a proper designation. It is more
Mm-hmm.
proper than African American. It is more proper
Yes.
than African. It is more proper and more
Mm-hmm.
appropriate than any designation for melanated individuals that have activated this divine power or have access to it. The word Naga is rooted in the Sanskrit and means serpent, one who is wise. It is associated with the number 7. Sheva, Shiva, Shevet, Shebet, Shavua, Shavuot. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, yes.
Shabbat. In all mythological language, the snake, rather the serpent, is an emblem of immortality. It is the emblem of your divinity that you carry down here with you. Its endless representation is the Ouroboros, with its tail in its mouth, symbolizing the constant renewal of its skin,
Yes.
and vigor of its skin.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Wow.
pointing to your
Mm-hmm.
melanin
Mm-hmm.
and its ability to what? Both absorb the full range of the energetic spectrum and constantly renew its energy, its vigor, its life. A known myth is the story of the Greek goddess Athena, who is known as a warrior goddess as well as the goddess of wisdom. The symbol of the serpent is displayed on her personal shield. In Genesis, the serpent is a Naga, the word Nachash, who seduces Eve, and instructs the new infant, humanity, into what is called the knowledge of good and evil. Is this all connecting up, family?
Big
Yes,
time.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
The Naga is referring to the people who have full access to Kundalini energy. Kundalini energy, that is what the Sphinx is referring to, family. The
Mm-hmm.
the amalgamation of those four beasts, the um the lion, the man, the calf, the ox, the bull, and the eagle, all incorporated with the serpent wrapped around the head and resting its head on the pineal, emphasizing a naga, a nega, a nigga that is 100% that. Are y'all with me?
Gang.
Yeah.
Kundalini energy is a serpentine force that lies dormant at the base of the spine. We all know that. Therefore, it is an exceeding honor to be called a naga or a nega or a nigga. It's the same word. Look, haven't we learned in sigil making that you drop the vowels, Nasi?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So the essential uh, consonants would be N, G, and if you want to put another one in there, H. Naga, nigga, nega,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
noga.
Yeah. Yeah.
It don't matter. Them vowels don't matter. Your subconscious is what ultimately must interpret it. So let's go forward as we close. Everybody all right?
Absolutely.
We're going to go more into this, from a phonetic term, from a phonetic meaning and a phonetic point of view. We're going to go into this word naga a little bit more, a little bit more. but this is going to lead us in here, lead us into it. And I'm going to get to the point where eventually, here it is, the phonetic meaning and association with the word naga and nezar. Nezar, it begins
Okay.
with your name. It begins with your name, Netzer. Netzar. We talked about family, the branch. Didn't we talk about it? The branch. And the branch of Yishai, the branch of Jesse. And talked about that particular scripture, family talks about all of the divine powers that you would have as a branch, right? As a rod, shevet or shebet. It is all connected. It is all connected. Can you all see it?
Okay.
All right. Last portion as we close, and we're going to look at this association of the Hebrew Nun, Gamil, and Ayin, or Naga, Nega, Niga. All right. We're just going to take a look at Nun, Gamil, and Ayin. We're going to get into this a little bit more. Nun, Gamil, Ayin. Spell out.
Noon, Gimel, Ayin.
Huh?
Noon, Gimel, Ayin.
Yeah. Nun, Gimel, Ayin. Spell out the word nega. All right. Which means plague. Now see, which means plague, particularly that of leprosy.
Wow.
Now see, I believe that you brought this out in a former class in the form of a question.
Yeah, I did.
When we talked about this colocutaneous albinism,
Right.
this lack of melanin. Now remember, family, this was one of the signs that Moses was to do for Pharaoh, right? When he
Right, by putting his hand in it. Yeah.
and he came out and it was leprous white.
Right.
This is the flaw. Now see, this is the biological flaw. Can't nobody make this up. Our ancestors was so brilliant. Can't nobody fool. Y'all ain't being fooled by this. This is what it is. We've been on this from the beginning. The word nega, which means plague, that's translated as plague, particularly that of leprosy, the biological flaw of the Naga people or serpent people. Is it not so?
Eitai.
The absence of melanin. Go right ahead.
Now, all of this, now, what you've just brought out makes Zechariah make sense now. You remember Zechariah was the 12th chapter where it says that all of this makes sense now.
Absolutely. This is it. This is it, Nasi. This is it. We can't make this up. There's no way we can make this up. So watch this. Now, the law of inversion, family. Invert or reverse those letters, nun, gimel, ayin, and you get oneg, which means delight. Now the plague becomes what? The delight.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reversal. And what was seen as a plague, science has looked at melanin and coloration in people as being a plague, a curse, a flaw,
Yes.
and have designed the whole world, and especially the pharmacology, Nasi,
Right.
and health programs based on that, and even diets based on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why in the school systems, the compulsory educational institutions, we had to take health class, basic health class, and one of the things that they gave us was the nutritional pyramid,
Yes.
Right.
and told us if we wanted to be healthy, that's what we would have to eat. And we've been dying ever since.
Everything.
So we had to move away from a diet like that to begin with. And we focus, Nasi, on the melanin, which is a delight, which is a delight. This nigga, this naga, this naga aspect of it, which is a delight, which is life in unto itself, without the diet, absent a diet, because we know that human photosynthesis within the Naga people
Right.
does not require a diet, and definitely doesn't
Mm-hmm.
require no solar energy that we can get through a plant or an
Mm-hmm.
herb.
Right.
Now, watch this as we close. This is because the Bible refers to the most direct experience of God using the word delight, oneg, which is a reversal of naga or nega or nigga. It is thus written, then you will delight upon God. Isaiah 48 and 15. We'll circle back to that later. Figure 35, the word nega is obtained from oneg by notation. The word for plague, nega, that is nun, uh, that is nun gimel ayin, is obtained from oneg, which is the reverse, by simple rotation or simply reversing it. The term nega denoted especially of leprosy, a leprosy-like plague, which is the sign of disapproval by God. So everything Nasi that related to us as the Naga people was disapproved of during the descent.
Absolutely. Right.
And in the ascent, it becomes our delight. Hasn't it been? Is this delightful to
Mm-hmm.
learn?
Yes.
Is this delightful to
Okay,
comprehend?
so
That's it. That's
every
it.
day, every day.
In an earlier section, we discussed how permutations such as these can result in opposites. Now, here we go. The directions based on the Ari, Zohar, Tikkuni, and Zohar. So they've broken down these directions, all right, which correspond to the Yud He Vav He, Nasi, which correspond to fire, water, air, and earth, the four
Right.
processes
Right.
of emanation. which correspond to the 4 cardinal signs of the zodiac. The lion, Leo, the lion, the bull, the man, and the eagle, right?
Right.
All of this stuff is just going to make so much sense to y'all. We get ready to go to the book of Revelation after this, and that's going to wrap it all up. Y'all going to know exactly what this is referring to. So they line these things up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions on the Kabbalistic tree of the Sephiroth, the 6 Sephiroth. However, there's a flip side to the Sephiroth, which is called the Kalipa or the Kalipo. All right, and they're called the Kalipoth Noga or the Kalipoth Nega or the Kalipoth Naga or the Kalipoth Niga. This is the part of the tree. This is the part of the Kabbalistic tree family that they have no access to us because it is exclusively the possession of the Naga or the Nega or the Nigga. Let's get into it. There is a sphere in which good and evil are mixed. Are y'all hearing me?
Yeah.
Since sparks of the divine fell down into the abyss or the underworld or the bottomless pit, that is us emanating into the physical realms and doing what? Descending to the lowest point into the abyss, and the divine was mixed with the klipo. This sphere is called Kalipath Noga, the brilliant shell, and is the source of man's lower soul, according to the Lurian Kabbalah. Within the soul of man, there is a constant conflict, Nasi, between these sides. Since good is mixed or entangled with evil. And then they say man has the possibility to choose either side. That's what a man does. That's what a human does.
Right.
A divine being don't do that. Gershom Scholem describes the world on the mystical shape of the Godhead. This is what we talking about, the Godhead, the egg, the skull. That's your Godhead.
Right.
This world of Kalipop Noga is actually a Luciferian world. Here we go. Lucifer and Jesus Christ, same character. God and Satan, same character. Belonging to the domain of shells and hence of evil. That's how they defined it. But is penetrated by a brilliance from the world of the Sephiroth that shines within it, so that the realms of good and evil appear uncannily blended. Well, actually, they got that in reverse because light does not come from darkness. Darkness comes from light. They got it reversed now, see?
Yeah, right.
I know because this is our science. We've mastered this because we are the ones that created it. We are the ones that are experiencing it. We are the ones that created it from Alpha to Omega.
Yeah, yeah.
Evil comes from the north, while south, and in particular east, are associated with good. North is associated with evil. The Bahir interprets a text from Jeremiah in which evil is associated with the north. That is why it is said that Satan, Nasi, or Hillel or Lucifer attempted to do what? Raise his throne where? On the sides of the north.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This is what they are referring to.
Yeah.
Jeremiah, which evil is associated with the north, and weaves this together or entangles it with the thought that evil is an attribute of God. Evil is an attribute of God.
Mm.
What is this attribute? It is the Satan, the Satan, the adversary. It's opposite. This teaches us that the blessed Holy One has an attribute whose name is evil. And evil, spelled backwards or reverse, is what, family?
Life,
Live
live.
and life. You're right. Live and life. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
that is a mistake? Do you think it's a
Absolutely not.
coincidence? This language is teaching us a lesson. It is to the north of the blessed one. It is written, Jeremiah 1 and 14, from the north will evil come forth upon all the inhabitants of the earth. Gabora is
Yeah.
viewed,
Yeah.
Gabora is viewed as the root of evil by most Kabbalists. Yet Gabora is in the light Sephiroth, not in the dark Kilipo. So we must think in reverse at all times. And the actual definition of evil, listen, Nasi, was often separation. The definition of evil is separation or duality.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
That is
That is.
Mm-hmm.
that is the quality characteristic of Gabora. As Gershon Sholem explains in the chapter Sitra Ara, Good and Evil in the Kabbalah, in the book of the mystical shape of the Godhead, we learn here that evil is nothing other than that which isolates and removes things from their unity. Boom!
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
What is common
That's
to,
all it could do.
say again, Nasi,
I was saying that's all it can be.
that's all it can be. What is common to all these columns
Mm-hmm.
is the perception of evil is an entity existing in isolation. Everything is entangled, family. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you can think of, everything that you can imagine is entangled. It's one. It's a
Mm-hmm.
a holistic unit.
So you're saying that we have to, the way we got to think, then we got to think in reverse when it comes to the English language.
Pardon me?
To think in reverse when we think, when we use the English language.
Absolutely. What is common to all these Kabbalists is the perception of evil as an entity existing in isolation, an evil action as separation of being from its proper place, an evil perception that views a God above you and a devil below you, a heaven above you and a hell below you.
All right, love.
And that
Have a good one.
views, Nasi, creation happening out there somewhere and not within your own head.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Now, we're going to close right here and we're going to look at the book of Revelation. After this, I looked and behold a door or a gate, family, a door or a gate
Mm-hmm.
was opened up in heaven.
Eitai, what Revelation is that? Revelation what?
Revelation 4. The entire chapter is about this. We're going to read the entire chapter. And the first voice which I heard was as it were a trumpet talking with me, which says, "Come up hither." And where was he coming up to? He was coming up into his own head. And I will show you things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the spirit, and beheld a throne was set in heaven. This is this seat, all right, this judgment seat.
Right.
This is a throne, what is referred to as a throne in your head, in your brain. And one sat on the throne. The one that sat on the throne is you.
Absolutely.
This is you. Now see, above the gene. This is you outside of the matrix
Mm-hmm.
and seated in your position of divinity, fully illuminated, fully activated. And he that sat was to look upon like jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow about the throne. That is the full spectrum of the energy, the electromagnetic spectrum. All right, from
Mm-hmm.
scarlet to violet.
Yes.
All right, from scarlet to violet,
Mm-hmm.
representing what? The 7 primary chakras in sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 24 seats. Now these are referring to the 12 pairs of what? Cranial nerves.
Mm-hmm.
20 and 4, look, around this throne, which is in the center of the brain. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in raiment, and they had their heads on their heads crowns of gold. All right, that is just a representation of you also sitting on the throne of all of your systems. Now see, all of your systems.
That's correct.
And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. That's your control center. That's your control center, fully activated. Lightnings, thunderings, voices, commands. You are in complete command. And there were 7 lampstands of fire, fully activated. The 7 chakras, 7 principal chakras, burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto a crystal. And in the midst of the throne, that sea of glass that was crystal, that is crystalline melanin. Its highest form on the earth, in the physical realm. In the midst of the throne and round about the throne were 4 beasts, full of eyes before and behind. We already talked about the 4 beasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 4 cardinal positions of the zodiac, meaning that the zodiac and the no longer controls you, but you're going to see you control the zodiac. Where? In the
Right.
vault of the heavens. that is within your mind.
Mm-hmm.
The first beast was like a lion, the second like a calf, the third had the face of the man, and the fourth was like a flying eagle. Also, Nasik representing the four phases or the four stages of emanation, of the emanation process, the four worlds that we have to pass through. And the four beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within. And they rest not day and night, saying, Whole, whole, whole. Is the Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. And when those beasts give glory and honor and thanks to him that sat on the throne, they thanking you,
Yes.
giving glory to you for having overcome the simulated matrix, from having overcome what? The dualistic mind. Now see,
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
for
That's
having
definitely.
overcome death, for having died in your head, and now
Mm-hmm.
you live what? Forever and ever. The
Mm-hmm.
4 and 20 elders fall down before the throne, before him that sat on the throne. That these 12 pairs of these 12 cranial nerves, they don't control you. When you're on the throne, you control them.
Mm-hmm.
You're over all of the systems in the body, even the DNA. Now, see, control beyond the gene. That's all we've been talking about. And worship him that liveth forever and ever, and cast down their crowns before the throne. Why? Because they know who's in control. They know who's ruling and reigning. Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things. Hard thing for a human to comprehend or even say. I dare you.
Gotta get it done.
I dare any of y'all to put that as a statement of affirmation and make a sigil out of it. I dare you to do it.
Come on, shows.
If you divine, you're not gonna have no problem with it. I
No
am
problem.
I am he that
Yes.
created all things.
Mm-hmm.
I
I,
am he that created all things. I dare you to
I
put
am
that in
that
your
I.
meditation. I dare you to
Mm-hmm.
put that in your meditation. I dare you to reduce that down to a language, a single holistic
Come
thought.
on, shows.
And for
Mm-hmm.
my pleasure, and for my pleasure, they are and were created. I don't create nothing based on your morality or no morality that my thing is to be happy,
Yes.
Right.
to achieve happiness. The only way I can do that,
Mm-hmm.
Nasi, is to be whole.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So this is on another level now, family. This is on another level. This is not
Completely.
this is divine holistic language, divine
No
holistic thought,
question.
divine
Mm-hmm.
holistic perception. And if you can see it, if you can relate to it, if you can accept it, you're on another level. You're
Yep.
Right.
actually making the transition. Now see, in real time, observable,
No question.
measurable,
Yes.
quantitative.
Mm-hmm.
You're making that transition from being a human to accessing your divine self.
So we can walk away today knowing that everybody that accepted this position, they at least at 250 level.
At least at 250. At least at
Easy.
At least at 250.
and
Exactly.
not say 250 with a bullet. 250
Yeah,
and
yeah.
moving.
Right.
250 and moving. And I say this
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
utmost confidence. With the utmost
Mm-hmm.
confidence.
yeah,
Look, we wouldn't even
yeah.
be receiving this stuff. We wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Can Eitai?
We couldn't have it. There would have been no way for us to have it.
Be
No
no way
way.
for us to
No
Couldn't
way.
comprehend it.
Yeah.
Because we'd be rigid.
absolutely.
Okay.
And
Right.
there are very few people on this planet at this time that can have a similar conversation. We started out looking at the brother, what was his name? I mentioned it, Joseph Carswell.
Yeah, Joseph Caldwell, right.
Now he's got some more teachings on YouTube. All you got to do is do a search, ask God to show you those videos. Do a search on YouTube. And this brother, one of them, the one I'm going to look at next. Let me see where it is. He's doing it, family, on the Prince of Darkness, and it's called The Prince of Darkness / The Money Game, Part 1.
Joseph Caldwell.
Joseph Carswell. C.
Okay, Card.
Yeah, Carswell.
Okay, excellent.
Well. And I'm looking, and man, this stuff. Oh, this was put up. He started putting this stuff up, or they started displaying it around 2 years ago, a little less than 2 years ago, September of 2016. So with that, family, I'm going to end here, and this will be the second part of what we began on yesterday. Talking about this prophetic inversion process that resulted from the fall. So we might do, we're going to go into some more detail on this, I'm sure, but this is going to mark the end of this particular series. We just did it 2 parts, but now see, you're going to see this is a great gateway.
Great gateway.
That we're entering into now. This is on another level, family. This is on another level.
No
Yes,
question.
it is.
No question.
I'm going to end it.
Yes, it is.
I'll end it here.